Hello and welcome to the Gifted Healer Conversations, where I get the honor of being able to talk to the most amazing gifted healers out there that happen to also be certified in the Body Decode and Flow Method practitioner certifications that I do. I'm Tara Meyer-Robson. I'm the creator of those certifications and those programs that are really designed to help people to be able to find the root cause of any kind of negative patterns, pain, or disease in about a quarter of the time that other types of programs tend to work in. So it's super effective and super wonderful. And I get to have the most wonderful people that I get the honor of certifying. And today I have one of my most favorite of those people actually on today's conversation. If you are a person who has always wanted to live a life that was more authentic to you or that really spoke to you at a soul level. Or if you're the kind of person who was always the one dreaming, maybe you started your first business as, a lemonade stand on the corner, or you were the newspaper girl or boy in your area at like 10 years old, and you just knew that you were built for something different. You were a bit of a visionary. Maybe you thought differently than all the other kids when you were little, and you just knew you were going to be called to something unique. Maybe you saw the problems in the world, you wanted to solve them, even as a little kid. If that sounds like you, then you are in the right place because who you're about to meet is probably, in my opinion, the very best at being able to guide visionary mentors, visionary entrepreneurs, visionary founders to not just a life and a business that aligns with who they are, but a real sense of coming from the truth of who you are, of getting all the stuff, the static, the junk, and really getting to the essence, listening to that intuitive voice inside you, and be able to grow whatever it is you're meant to grow in this world from a place of truth, of, as he says, love, action, and truth. So let me introduce you now to Jarryon Paul. Jarryon, how are you today? I'm so happy to see you as usual.
I'm humbled, Tara. I'm humbled. I'm humbled. Thank you so much for that bit of introduction and saying what you said there. I feel really good. I feel really good today, and it just you saying that made me think about how much I actually love this work. I just love really finding the and you said it. You said it when we were going through. Still remember you said, "Hey, you're gonna really love this," and I mean, it's true. It's true. What is it? Maybe 3 or 4 years later now. Is it that long? 2, 3 years, I guess.
Something like that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Up to today, I was talking with a client that I've worked with, and he was just expressing his gratitude for being able to so quickly get in there and help
Oh,
to understand and to guide like in the moment. He's like, you're
mm.
real good at getting this, and I'm just thinking like, wow, like so what we learned was just so transformational for me and now for so many other people around me. So I am feeling humbled. I'm feeling grateful. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, Jerry, it's who you are. I mean, like from the beginning, I saw that in you, and it was like you were just meant to go out there and do this work at such a big level. One of the things I'd love for you to tell people about is like how you start, because you started very young with knowing that you just kind of wanted to do this very different thing. You see problems and you have to solve them. That's one thing about you. So talk to
Mhm.
me about that process. Like when you were really young and you started kind of going down that path, what that looked like for you.
Yeah, I remember. I remember one of my earliest memories, and I'll name some places in Trinidad and Tobago where I'm from as well, so that any Trinis or Trinbagonians who are seeing this could understand. But I remember growing up in Barataria, right? It's an area in Trinidad,
Hmm.
and I remember driving on the main road, and the thought just hit me. It's one of my not earliest memories, but I was around like maybe 8 or 9, around that age, and I'm just thinking like, what is going on? Like, what is all around me? What is happening? And I'm really thinking on the society. I didn't know the word society probably at that time, but I was just thinking about what is going on, what is really taking place, and how is all of this lined up like it is. And as I started to pay attention to it, I realized like at first, then I started to hear about the government, and I'm hearing, oh well, the government is the one that kind of has everything set up the way it is. And I remember sticking with that for a while, a few years, until I learned about business. I had a cousin who gave me the book Think and Grow Rich, and that probably started my
Mm.
journey along business at 10 years old. And then I started
Wow.
realizing,
Okay.
oh, well, it must be the business is actually behind the government. So I'm saying, well, the business
Right.
people, government. I mean, I think a lot of people know that or talk about that or believe that. But Tara, after meeting you, I got to understand that it's not the government, it's not the businesses, it's these are not the things that have the greatest potential to change what is around
Mm,
us. I realize it's really me, it's
mm,
us as human beings, right? And
right.
I I mean, it just always was like that for me. I remember being very young, maybe about a year after having those thoughts, or 2 years after. I remember being with my dad driving around an area called the Queen's Park Savannah. Just a
Mhm.
regular, just somewhere people pass every day, but it always sticks out to me. He was saying, Jarryon, it's up to you and your generation to solve the problems that we have in front of us today.
Wow.
And that just stuck with me. I always just
Wow.
remembered like, wow, and I just knew it was true in that moment, even though I was really young. And I kind of took it
Yeah.
very like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, like, yeah, it really is. So
Wow.
from a young age, I was very locked into that. And then I got to read that book and learn about business. And so I went in that direction for a very long time. And I went in that direction to the point of really burnout. And a short while
Mm.
after that is when we would have met and you would have been able to help me understand how did I really get to that position and what were some of the things that needed to be changed. And as I made those changes, I saw the improvement, and then
Mm.
I remember my thoughts with you was, how did you do that? Like, I remember thinking, how did you do that? How did she do
It
that?
seems like magic. It's not. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does seem like magic
it
because
does
I
seem
was
like
like,
magic.
because I was going to
Yeah.
doctors. I was going to
Yeah,
doctors.
that's right.
I was asking people. I was really trying to solve it. I was trying to figure out. And the most I got back was, it's stress, it's stress, it's stress. And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
well, what is stress? Because I'm curious that way to want to get to the root cause of things in any case. So the method that you taught me really unlocked so much for me within myself, within the people that I've been fortunate enough to
Mm.
work with, eventually figuring out which kind of person I want to work with,
Yeah.
realizing that it's really the founders, it's the people that have that vision, it's the people that want to go on to change the world, but in a way that is so aligned to them. It's like you are
Yeah.
here to do this, maybe other things,
Yeah.
but this is a main thing, and
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have found what that is for me and to be
Mhm.
able to work with other people to help them find what that is for them. And it's just is the best. I mean, even when I'm still working on my company, and so
Yeah. We'll
I
talk about
always
that
have,
because we'll talk about that in a second too, because you have done some
yeah,
amazing iterations that and you've had to take turns and twists and somehow believe in yourself and your purpose and your mission in a way that's insane. And I think those are important stories I want to make sure that we tell people because I think other entrepreneurs, other founders are going to really understand and relate to that. But
yeah,
before we do that, I want to ask you because I remember as one of the things I knew about you right away is how incredibly intuitive you were. But you were in because of the way oftentimes business is structured,
hmm
we don't necessarily give as much credence to
hmm
the intuitive, which oftentimes, even if it's not making the logical number crunching sense at the moment, is
hmm
actually the thing that's going to maybe guide us to the next place. And I know you're kind of stuck at that moment.
yeah,
Can you
I was.
tell all of us like what was that like? And then how have you seen your own ability to use your intuition grow? And for other founders, like what does that look like for them?
Yeah, so that was a moment where I was in business with a close friend of mine at the time. And it was especially difficult because of that connection, because of
Yeah.
that close
Yeah.
friendship at the time.
Yep.
But realizing that, this intuitive sense that I was realizing that I had, that I always had, but I didn't know, I didn't have a name for it, I didn't have a frame for it. I
Yeah.
realized it was actually my superpower. But
Yeah.
at the same time, the person I was working with wasn't able to see it as such. So in their mind, maybe it was something else completely. I really don't know because in the end, what I had to do was move away from that connection, move away from that relationship, move away from that business,
Yeah.
actually, in order to figure out how to actually be around people who value the gift that I bring in terms of being able to see these visions and being able to adjust in real time and to be
Right.
able to be trusted in that capacity. Because
Mm,
that is my strength. It truly is my strength, and when it's not someone else's strength, they maybe have other strengths. And, one thing I've realized is people tend to look at the world through the lens of their own strengths, right? And they're not always the most understanding of persons who are just different.
right.
So they may have wanted me to do things that were really draining for me, or just it's not in my makeup. And regardless of how much I tried to explain that, it became an untenable situation. And in the end, I realized, I'm just going to have to walk away from this.
Yeah.
Very painful. I think when you are empathetic in general, then I mean, these connections, even when it hurts you, sometimes you're still like, no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
could
So
change them.
hard.
No, I could. But in the end,
Mm,
I made that decision. Sure, it was rough in the beginning, but
mm,
I'm so happy I made that decision. These are some of the most life altering and life defining decisions for me. I
yeah.
remember particularly a while into that whole separation process, there
Mm,
was a moment where this individual cornered me with himself and two other persons who were friends to me, and really framed up a scenario where it was like, and kind of put a question to me. He was like, Jarryon, like, if you have to choose between you or like us, who would you choose? And
that's
I
rough.
remember like time almost stopping and me just being like, I would choose me, you know? And I
Wow.
knew why I was saying that, but the way it landed for him and even for those two other persons, it was like I could see that they didn't understand, like they didn't get
Yeah.
it. And I knew that I had to be truthful in that moment. And I knew that the repercussions of it would be severe. And they will. But
Mm,
overall, I think it's still one of the best decisions I ever made to choose
mhm,
me, to stand up for myself and for who I am and what I believe. And I'm
mm.
happy with how it's turned out and how it's turning out.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm not even sure I knew that confrontation
Yeah.
had happened. I don't know if you told me that actually. That's
Yeah. Maybe I
intense.
didn't. Maybe I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's intense. So how let me ask you this because I find you have always found you to be a person with one of the strongest inner compasses. And oftentimes when we talk about intuition, that's just really in a lot of ways an inner compass, but it's
Right.
also inner compass it has more. It's like to know who you are at a level, to know and trust your internal self, to
Yes.
know your value system, your mission, etc. I feel like you've
Yeah.
always had that so strongly. How do you think you developed it so that you got to that moment where you could say, "Hey, I am choosing me"? Because lots of people, as you say, they would think that was an ego decision, and it very much was not an ego decision. It's like, I am not aligned to where you guys are. You're not aligned to where I am. And in fact, actually, you were actually choosing for all of them by saying, I'm no longer, this is not, it's not going to be good for any of us if we keep this, right? It actually was a non-ego, but other people who don't understand that would come from a different place. So how did you develop that inside you? Because I think that's one of your greatest strengths.
Hmm. This is actually such a great question. Wow. You know, I really go back to my family. I go back to my family a lot. I,
Mhm.
I think as I was growing up and so I didn't really recognize the real value of my family in
Sure.
terms of from my grandparents come all the way up to my parents,
Hmm.
my siblings, my younger sisters as well, like so kind, so helpful. My grandmother. I mean, I would be really surprised if this lady is not canonized as a saint or something at some point. I'll be so surprised because there are just so many people who strangers to me who, if they find out I am Joyce Floyd's grandson, they
Oh,
will tell me story after story after story. Like, your grandmother
oh,
helped me with this, she helped me with that, like, and so on and so on. And it
oh.
actually, there was because of this entire scenario in terms of this business partner. And so I
Mm.
remember that had happened right before I'd gone to the States for the first time.
Oh
And
yeah.
then I
Mm.
came back and my grandma was sick at the time and
All right.
she ended up going to like a nursing home. But by
Mm.
the time I arrived to visit her at the nursing home, she's helping out at the nursing home. She's like helping all the other like she's supposed to be in the nursing home. She's like pseudo running the nursing home.
Oh.
And I remember talking to her and saying, Grandma, I'm going through this situation, I feel like really betrayed X, Y, and Z. And I was asking her, "Hey, Grandma, you are almost 90 years old, or she was a little over, like about to be 90 years old at that time. I'm
Wow.
saying like, but I never seen you, have these sort of confrontations. You just always seem to be like, okay, like how come? And then she paused and she told me, I'll never forget. She said, well, I don't think anyone has ever done anything to me that was so terrible that I couldn't forgive them.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm just
Mm.
like, but you're 90. I'm seeing the kinds of experiences I'm
Wow.
going through. I'm understanding some of the context of our country and what she would have had to face and what she would have had to go on through. And for that to be her
Yeah.
decision, to me was just is so, so telling. I just have so much love and respect
Wow.
for my grandma and I mean my entire family, even, my
Mm.
mom, my dad. I think the even though I ran away from that side of things for a while in terms of trying to figure out life and just the world and
Sure.
so on, I
Mm.
think that instilled something. I think there's a part of it that is innate as well. That's just this is who you are when you arrive, but
Yeah.
I think the foundation that was laid from my family was just very, very, very strong. And I didn't always understand it. I didn't understand the value of what kind of
Mm.
family I had and what kind of, values were being passed on to us as children. And yeah, looking back on it is really, I think that accounts for a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's talk about wisdom. That's like a wisdom bomb for your grandma, right? Of
Yeah,
like how to live. I mean,
yeah,
to be able to live in that state, how much better would our world be if we could
yeah.
figure that out, right? I mean, in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, and she managed to do it in such a way that, like, if someone would really cross her boundaries, she would stop them in the
Right.
kindest way, like they'll almost be like, oh wow, like who's this lady, like so it's not even that people are taking advantage in any sort of crazy
No.
way. It's not even that. She just figured out she figured out something. She really figured out something, I think. And
Yeah, she knew who she was. She held that strongly. Almost if we,
yeah,
I mean, it's almost a mirror
so true.
moment to you saying, I'm choosing me. It's like she knew how to choose herself
Yeah,
with love. And like if you're stepping in her, she's gonna hold the boundary with love,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Impressive. I mean, I do think that probably is some of the root of your ability to have that just strong internal compass. Because
yeah,
Jerry, like
so true.
as you've been building, so you've been building these businesses on top of like you have these crazy talents, in my opinion, as far as connecting patterns, connecting the mind body, using your inner guidance and your intuition to be able to solve those kinds of problems. And there's that. And then you've always created your businesses from such a place of passion and heart and trying to better people's lives. I mean, I know when we met, your entire business was to really make life easier for your fellow, Trinidadian and I mean that was like your thing. I think it still is. Like where
Yes.
right? It still is because
Yes,
I've been watching your
it's
amazing,
more.
and maybe we can talk about some of that because I've been watching some of the amazing things you're doing right now with Sunshine.
Thank you.
And you've been doing interviews on, various panels and platforms, and they've all been, as usual, amazing. Talk to me about that. Like, where does that deep love of, I guess, humanity, but also sort of, the people that you feel, why do you want to lift people up like that? And where's that come from?
Mm. It's so automatic for me. It's like my default setting. Like any person I come across, my first instinct is just to help, is just to assist.
Hmm.
And I had to learn the difference between being nice and being kind. This was really
Right.
crucial for me. I remember another mentor of mine saying, the cruelest thing that you can do to someone is withhold honest feedback.
Mm,
And it
true.
took me some time to really sit with that and understand what he meant,
Yeah.
because to me, he was such a stern and is such a stern individual, but it actually is real kindness,
Yeah. Mhm.
and yeah, it's just innate to me. I think, like you said a little while ago, I see the problems and I want to provide the solution. I just want to provide a solution. Luckily, there's something called entrepreneurship, which allows me to do that.
I was just talking to somebody about this because being an entrepreneur, it is hardwired. I
Yeah,
literally believe there is I think some of us come in and it's a really different journey, right?
yeah,
There are ups, there are great ups, and there are deep downs. And
so true.
Right?
So
And
good.
and when you believe so strongly, obviously you've been with me a while, you've known, you've seen from the beginning of me building out my certifications, for instance.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
there are moments of doubt, right? Where you're
Mhm.
thinking, God, can I do this? Like, can I actually get this out there? And
Yeah.
I think you've been through this, what, multiple times, because your first business was what,
Yeah.
like 19, and then,
No,
right?
honestly, as I eventually I started to track where it all started. I'd go right back to 10 years old.
Oh,
That's
isn't
when
that
I
funny?
really,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So next year I'd actually be 20 years an entrepreneur. Of course, when I started, it's all in very simple and small ways of like just selling stuff in school or,
Yeah.
but I consider myself even back then an entrepreneur because I read that book, Think and Grow Rich, and I was emulating. I was trying to actually be like Henry Ford and
Oh man, Jerry, that's
Thomas
awesome.
Edison and like, this is what I was doing, so
Wait, wasn't there, wait, remind me. You had an vision in your mind. You were going to go on this trip, but you had to raise a ton of money, right?
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
tell me that because that story was
Wow.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So this was I was in Sea Scouts in my school, St. Mary's College.
Yeah.
And there was a trip. There are these trips every 4 years for scouts around the world called a World Scout Jamboree. And I think the ticket cost was maybe like $25,000 or something, and
Yeah.
my parents couldn't afford to pay all of that at that time, and I had to raise funds. So I came up with this idea to have a raffle, right? And this idea that somebody could take a chance on a raffle, and originally I was selling like slots to the raffles. So it was like 25 cents a chance, or it was like $5 a page, or it was like I think $100 per book, right? And I started off selling chances in school until eventually I think I got my first sale for a book because I was a part of a sports club called the Queen's Park Oval, where there are a lot of people who are a lot more affluent and just generally into sports and so on. When they saw me coming around and talking about this raffle and scouts, and so eventually one guy was like, I'll buy a book, and I was like, a book, I realized that I could actually sell the books.
Wow.
So my whole strategy just switched to going to the Queen's Park Oval and selling these books, and it happened very, very
Wow.
quickly. But I remember knowing at some point that this was going to happen, and this
Mm,
is something that I have been able to identify at other points of my life as well. And I kind of call it going into the slipstream, where
mm.
it's like, it's almost like only intuition. It's just intuition. I remember even going to the US for the first time. At that time, we had no, like, there was a long wait to get a US visa.
Oh,
And I remember
right.
this was while we were actually doing the
Yeah, I remember
certification.
this. Yes.
Yeah, and I was thinking, and then I just put out a message, just casually. I was like, does anyone know how to get a US visa faster? And
Yeah.
one guy got back to me and he was like, actually, you just need to refresh the page a lot because sometimes people don't show up for their appointment. So if you refresh, you can get a much earlier appointment. And I remember walking to my fridge one day with some water, about to put the water jug in the fridge, and it just coming into my mind, check now. And I just knew I needed to put down this jug. I ran to my computer, check, 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 check. I saw the date show up. I was like, select, 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 done. And
Wow.
I got my US visa as well, a 10-year US visa, just from following intuition. There's no logical anything in that. It's like, why would it be right this second? And where do I get the insight from to go check it now? And how is it that it is actually this now? And it
Wow.
does
Yeah.
lead to me actually. And so I follow that thread. And when I start to pull on that intuitive thread, I just follow it. I follow it. It may seem crazy. It may seem like it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
but I saw it with that raffle. I saw it with, the US visa.
Yep.
I've seen it with other trips. I've seen it in these last 6 months I lived in Greece. All of that is just pulling on that intuitive thread. And sunshine is probably one of the biggest of those threads
Oh,
that I've
yeah.
been pulling on as well.
So let's talk, and I want to talk about sunshine in a second. So let's talk about that because I feel like I think all of us that are hardwired to be founders, to be entrepreneurs, right? I think there's that creative process in us. There's usually that desire to solve a problem.
Right.
And I think there's always, I mean, where do these creative ideas come from but our intuition, but this just like alignment, this connection with the web that is out there, right? Quantum
Correct.
consciousness, source, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter.
Correct.
So
Correct.
let me ask you this because I see so often, and I know you do in your work, that entrepreneurs we all believe in the hustle. I know you did it. I've done it. My default is still that.
Yeah.
Right? I think your default probably still, you still have to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like,
No, you have to
right?
fight for
You just
this.
gotta like, I'm just gonna do it like five more things. And
Yeah.
so, but the problem is that sometimes that can cloud out these solutions that are trying to come in, like, hey,
Yes.
check
So
now,
true. So
right?
true. So
So
true.
how do you help entrepreneurs to figure out and to clear out and to start to trust that? Because I think that's such an important part of what you model in your work and how you could guide other people, right?
Yeah, no, this is a really, really interesting question as well. I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, so I think the biggest thing is really understanding who you are, like what your gifts are. What kind of entrepreneur are you? Because if you're an entrepreneur who's like yourself or like myself, and you have that creative and intuitive ability and you don't use it, it's
Oh,
actually a disservice to
yeah.
you, your team, your customers, because you're trying to fit into a mold of maybe the Silicon Valley entrepreneur,
Mm,
the Elon Musk type or Steve
mhm,
Jobs type, or just any sort
mhm.
of type of
Right,
entrepreneur like that,
right.
that is, predicated on the hustle or on the idea of startup investment. And I just need this round and this other round, and then I'll have a $10 billion valuation company. And it's like, you really do tune out that intuitive side. So I think for me, it's
Mm,
helping founders understand what type of founder are you. And then I think
mm.
the next most important thing is really getting a team that sees you as that and that believes in you at times even more than you might believe in yourself.
Oh,
And
true.
because then they give you that space to really go out and use that ability. And the third thing I would say for persons like us is something I actually had to come up with because of that default hustle, sort of like, because you know you're meant to do this thing and you think that it has to be you doing this thing, when
Mm,
really you just really need to come into alignment with this thing that's getting done, regardless, through you and through many other people. So
true. Yeah.
eventually I came up with the idea of a relaxation schedule, right? Which I'm still not the best at following, but I have it. And I if I get too out of it, I'm like, okay, when's the last time I followed my relaxation schedule? And it breaks
Wow.
down into things I need to do every day, things I do on a weekly basis, things I do every month, every quarter, every year. And for me, it's a matter of a variation of different kinds of trips or excursions, a lot
Yeah.
of the time involving nature.
Yeah.
It's about going for a long walk for 3 hours in nature, or going on a hike, or going to the beach, or going on a what I call like a staycation. I spend 2 nights every month somewhere else that's not home, that's not work. And I find that these moments, especially if I follow them for a period of time, it actually builds my capacity overall to stay connected. And in staying connected, everything is just so much easier. To the point where now, when I think about my home and where I would like to live when it's all said and done, I want to live in nature and visit the city, as opposed to live in the city and visit nature and escape to nature, only to
Yeah.
come right back, because nature has already figured out 99% of the
Oh,
stuff
true.
that I would then try to figure out myself.
Mm,
So I think a combination of those three things, but knowing who you are for sure, knowing what kind of entrepreneur you are, having that right team around you, and the idea of a relaxation schedule, a way to actually nurture that ability and that
mm.
to stay connected, because that is the real connection. That's the real connection that matters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jarryon, I hope you are packaging all of that up to it.
Well, this is
into, into into a program. My little creative mind now is going, wait a minute, you know how many people
yeah,
need that? So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you have your amazing catalyst session. We're going to talk about that and why that's so important. And that would be part of it. You could help somebody with
Yes.
that because I think, but seriously, you need to package that up.
Yeah. No, you're
Um,
right. You're totally right. You're totally right.
so, not that you don't have a few things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other, I mean, I think that's so important because I think, right, one of the things that we see is when we are not as founders, as visionary entrepreneurs, as creators, if you are not listening to that part of you, you get sick. You get sick. You get burnt out.
Yeah.
That's actually, in my
So
opinion,
true.
the hustle, and that is the core reason
Mm.
for burnout, for like entrepreneur, like that visionary entrepreneur depression. I was just working with somebody the other day. She's not an entrepreneur, but I was working with her and
Right.
she was like, I think I'm really depressed. And it's not that depression isn't a very real thing. It absolutely is. But
Mhm.
I asked her, well, are you depressed when you go do these things? I mean, these were things that are do speak to her joy. Well, no, I'm not. I'm super happy there. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at then actually what we're looking at is situational
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
right? Because depression, when it is an actual medical condition, is wherever you are, you don't feel like things are bringing you joy, right? So do you
Correct.
see
Yeah.
that when you work with the entrepreneurs, like and other people you're working with, can you kind of tell like when they're getting when they're not listening to that part of them and how that unfolds as them kind of getting sick or worn down?
Yeah, I see it like I see it so clearly now because
Mm,
I've lived it and because
sure.
it was my experience of not listening to myself at these moments. So very quickly, just with a couple questions and just looking at someone's actions over a period of time, I'm able to very easily see where they are listening to themselves and where they're not, and where I could even see the
Mm,
struggle between maybe wanting to but maybe the status quo or how things have been before and just
sure.
not being able to or not feeling like they're able to. And I realized that my role a lot of the time in those cases is just to kind of pause and point things out that I'm actually noticing. And many times they kind of get a light bulb moment as to like,
Mm,
oh, that's true. That's right. I really do have to. And as they start to make the changes,
mm.
I see how their life starts to get. I remember you talked about this idea of kind of like a breakdown before like
Yeah,
a rise sort of thing. And it's like a it's a breakthrough, but
it
you have
is,
to
but it
sort of
feels like
go
a
through the
breakdown.
it feels like a breakdown and it seems like everything's going crazy, you know. So when they come, when I see them at that stage, I'm like, yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, here we are.
You know?
Congratulations. I mean, it's so true though. Think of it. I mean, I know for
It's so
myself, I
true.
know for you, certainly
Yeah,
we go through these things that are
right.
absolute. It is a breakthrough, but
Yes.
holy, everything suddenly feels everything you kind of like you have breakdowns with friends. Suddenly the
Yeah.
people that you thought you were aligned with,
Yeah.
things blow up. You have relationships, you have
Yeah.
suddenly a work environment. It's like everything that you thought fit you when it's not going to be able to go with you to the next level, it falls away and it boy is not fun sometimes.
Yeah. Sarah, I had a experience when I was in Greece in, let's say, maybe about April, May, around that
Sure.
time, where I had a dream and I woke up, and the dream was about all the people and groups and communities that I had been a part of, and I saw them all in like one moving story. And I woke up with so much grief. Like
Oh,
it was such a because I realized that I was the one that left because I needed to leave to go where I need to get to and where I need to be, you know. And I saw how I saw them long. I remember writing about it as soon as I woke up. And it noticed the cost of freedom, you know. And it's like I saw them long enough to both love me and hate me. And I saw that
oh
most
yeah.
people didn't really understand, and most people didn't were not really ever actually in that space of love with me. And it was just so painful to go through it because I realized that I will continue to do this because this is who I am, you know. And so it became and it becomes really important for me to, you know, be connected with those persons who love me for me because
Yeah.
this is just me, you know.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And you come from love. I think that's one of the hard things that those of us that are really intuitive and really empathic and genuinely want the world to be a better place. I think it's exceedingly hard for us because we come from love. We always come from love. Like everything I do, I come from love. Everything you do, you come from love. And sometimes there's people in our lives that will kind of they come from a different place. They come from control or they come from just a different power dynamic, right? And it can be so hard because it took me a long time. My husband still says to me, "Dear, not everyone in the world is you." He says, right? It takes a hard, it's when you come from that place of like, you know, like
No, I
it'd be
know.
so much easier if we just like Kumbaya. You
I know.
know?
One of my team members who's a bit older than me, he's always like, Jarryon, you're not Jesus. Like
I
he's
used to get
always
Mother Teresa. Yeah.
yeah, he's always reminding me, he's like, you're not Jesus, and I'm just like, that's actually true. I am not Jesus.
It is true, and I do think that is the true Jesus spirit, right? Is genuinely not saying that we're Jesus, just saying that like that's what
Yeah.
Jesus asked of us, was live
No,
right
correct. I mean,
in that state.
a lot of the time, sometimes you get into conversations, people ask about religion and this sort of stuff as it relates to me. And I would say, and I talk about Jesus, and I find Jesus
Yeah.
is real, real
Yeah.
good. Like I actually really respect everything, and when
Massive.
you
Yes.
you put it in those terms, sometimes it's not so well understood what you mean. They think, like, but you don't go to church maybe as much, or like, and I'm just thinking, no, but like,
Right.
it is an energy, it's a
It
state of
is.
mind, it's a state of being,
It
to
is.
connected. I think it's really about being connected. And I think
Mm.
that maybe a person like Jesus would have been quite connected, is
Quite
maybe
connected at all times,
at
right?
all
And
times.
quite open, like that open-heartedness, right?
Yeah,
And I think also speaking of a creative problem solver, but right?
yeah,
And I think when we look at like what you just described in that dream, let's think about what that means though also for everybody who is maybe a visionary entrepreneur and they are coming up and
mhm,
they are trying to assemble teams and they are moving from like and they lose friends along the way because somebody's just not getting them. I think
yeah,
one of the things you just
yeah,
talked about is maybe so critical to what sometimes blocks a visionary entrepreneur from going to the next level is not accessing and allowing and releasing that grief over the things that weren't to be, over
mm.
the ideas that didn't go, over the people that couldn't come with, right?
Yeah. You're saying this, and I'm thinking, wow, I still have some of that grief to be released as well. Like,
That makes you a great mentor because you're actually doing the work.
yeah, no, no, no. No, exactly. It's so true. It's so true because I mean, we're in life. I'm in New York City. The pace of the city is like you wake up, they're like, all right, go, go, go. Like,
Go.
and sometimes it's like, no, you might need to pause and really take some time. And I think when you only at those moments where you do that, do you get the opportunity for that emotion to come up and leave and be
Yeah,
felt the way that it needs to be felt. And
right.
it's so essential. It's so true for founders. I think founders especially are some of the most high functioning,
Yeah.
probably stress masking people that exist
Stress
because
masking.
yeah, because we are just like, no, everything's fine,
Great. Great. We
but
got it.
it mightn't be exactly fine, and
No.
it's good, I think, when you have the space, or you have someone that you can speak with who understands that everything is not always fine, and
Yeah.
creates the space or helps you create that space to actually do that work that you need to do to actually do what's best for your business as well.
Yeah.
So there's no business without the founder, especially in the early stage. So you have to really take care of yourself in all areas of your life to really be most effective as a founder, especially if you're a visionary founder and you're seeing things so far out. You have to get there. How are you going to
Yeah.
get there if you
How are
don't
you going to
get
get
there?
there? And you want there now, a lot of times I find. And I mean, I think that's also a really interesting point is how often the visionary leader, the visionary founder, I think we don't talk about enough how lonely that leader position can be
Yeah,
because you can't talk to your team necessarily because your team is looking to you to keep guiding, to keep holding the lantern out, to keep going. So
yeah.
even when that
Mm,
flame is starting to
great.
flicker because you're tired or you're trying to think of a new solution or you get regulatory things thrown your way that you're like,
Yeah,
what am I going to do? Like
yeah.
you as the leader, it's who do you talk to, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, this is so true. This is so true. And I mean, how I have navigated this, I eventually started, and I had a call with them today, actually. I started something called Founder Fridays, right? Because I
Mm.
realized when I was in Greece at that time, feeling quite lonely, quite isolated, being just probably the only Trinbagonian within a huge mile
Yeah,
radius.
were you like the only one that'd been given like a work visa or something, or like one of the
Yeah,
first
so
two, or
I was the first Trinbagonian to have the nomad visa to Greece, right? Because when I went to the embassy, they were like, "You're the first one we're ever issuing," So it was like, "Oh, okay, well, this is totally aligned." That was a whole intuitive process as
It
well. I mean, I
was.
wasn't confirmed with that until I got there. I had to wait in Panama for 2 weeks before they even confirmed, and then I got it, and it was just, but
Wow.
yeah, it's just founders. Yeah, and you're so right about that, Tara. There's certain things I can talk to my team about, and I have a really, really great business partner who I can talk to a lot of this stuff about as
Sure.
well. But I think with founders, it's like the to me, the only person that really understands is other founders at a
Yeah.
certain point.
Right?
Like at a
Yeah.
certain point, it's just other founders, right? So
Right.
and then I think where I can help and offer something that's really
Mhm.
unique is a founder with that visionary and pattern seeking capability who
Right.
can help you go deep and see things that you won't necessarily see because I'm not you. I'm not so close to it as you might
Right.
be, but I understand what it is to be a founder. And I understand what you may be going through from like either an emotional or,
Mm.
whatever standpoint as it relates to what I would have learned from you as well as it relates to the body language and the flow method
Mm.
and these areas of your mind, body, and life that may just be out of alignment, something that I may be able to see because I have that training and I have that experience in my own life and with my other clients, and I think this can be extremely valuable to founders because so often founders are just the weight of the world is on your shoulders in many ways. And
Yeah.
you need that. Founders need support too. It just,
They need support. They need support too. I think that's such an
yeah,
important thing of why, like
yeah,
that sense of almost being able to feel safe
yeah,
in receiving support. Like somebody's working with you, it's like they get to feel safe for a minute, and whatever they're dealing with is there's no judgment.
yeah,
It's let's look at this together. Okay, where are we at? How do we
yeah,
move to the next level? What's blocking you right now? What's making you feel out of alignment? And just safe. I can talk here and
yeah,
get it. Like it's sort of like people when they have the same kind of things, maybe they go to a therapist and talk to a therapist and they can
yeah,
feel safe working out whatever that emotional thing is. For a founder, who really our whole life is genuinely our business in a lot of ways. I mean, like you don't put it down. I don't ever not think about some part of my brain is always working on something. I know
yeah,
some part of yours is always working on something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like we
yeah,
need somewhere to go and someone like you to say, "Hey, okay, all right, let's take a look at this. What's going on today?"
yeah,
And I get it. I get this path you're on. I get this
yeah.
journey and I get your end point. Let's see how we get you there, right? Safely and
Correct.
right.
Correct.
Right.
No, it's exactly that. And I think I was saying a little earlier, no matter how challenging my entrepreneurial life gets, the amount of passion that I have for this particular work of assisting founders with their own entrepreneurial life, it's like I don't know. I just tap into an unlimited energy source that
Yeah.
fuels me for that and for this. So it's not a situation of, for me, I realized it couldn't be one or the other. It had to be both,
Yeah.
and it works so well together, right? It works
Yes.
so well together because I am also still learning and developing as an entrepreneur, but I may have gotten to a place
Yep.
on this side where I can assist even someone who may be further along in their
Yep.
entrepreneurial journey than I am right now on mine. But it's not always about the business side. Sometimes it's
No.
about the personal side. Sometimes it's about the emotions. It's about
Sometimes it's
these
about the
things we
body.
go
It's
through, the
sometimes
body,
right.
yeah, diseases and so on. And, these things impact your ability to then be that founder that you really are.
Yeah.
So these are the ways that I can assist even founders who are further progress. And I love those interactions a lot because I learn so much from every client, but
Yeah.
especially those clients,
Yeah.
because they might be able to show me some things at the same time. Like,
I told and it's funny. I think what you speak, absolutely. I think what you speak of right there, Jerry, that is we talked about it a long time ago. Your soul gift, and that's why, and this is the beauty, and I'm so glad you talked about it because I think that's how you help other people get to that place too, is your soul gift is helping visionary founders to be able to get all this stuff, clear all this stuff, and genuinely align with not just their vision, but their whole life in a way that feels like they can keep tapping into that battery for
yep,
themselves, right?
yep,
And for you, that's why you have endless energy for doing that. I have
yep,
endless energy for doing the work I do because why? It's our gift. It is our mission. right? It's your mission.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you are in alignment with that and when you are connected to that energy source, that energy flows to you. You are that energy source at
Yes.
that point. And
Yeah, you're
so
just a vehicle. You're like, okay, here's where we go, right?
exactly.
Which is amazing. So tell me about sunshine, which I always loved that you call things sunshine because you are sunshine, I feel. But talk to me about sunshine because you guys have had a really interesting journey,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So tell me about that.
Definitely. Okay, sure. So Sunshine, my 13th company, actually.
Oh my God.
Um,
Is it 13th?
It's
Is
a
it?
13th company. It
Oh,
is. It
Jarryon.
is. It is. And
Wow.
there's a whole thing with the number 13. We could talk about that sometime. But there's a whole thing. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so Sunshine, what we are, well, we started out in Trinidad and Tobago as what's called a stable coin exchange. And
Okay.
stablecoin is a cryptocurrency that's one to one with a national dollar.
Oh,
So in my
cool.
country, we have, well, we use Trinidad and Tobago dollars, and we've had this US dollar problem for a long, long time, for like 20 years or so.
You've been
The
trying
US,
to solve that. Basically, that was
yeah,
one of the first things you were trying to solve, making that
correct. So
easier. Yeah. Okay.
exactly. That is what Sunshine started out as really
Mhm.
figuring out how to address that problem, but using stable coins instead of US dollars
I
itself.
see.
But stablecoins ends up being the upgrade to dollars everywhere. So every dollar will become a stablecoin at some point. This is the trend that we are seeing. And I mean, we're seeing it all around the world now. We're seeing it in the United States, passing what's called the Genius Act recently,
Hmm.
which is all about stablecoins. We see it in Europe, we see it all around the world. And so basically, we were very early to that idea. And Sunshine has evolved from a stablecoin exchange now into not just a stablecoin exchange, but we launch a remittance service at the end of this year to help Trinbagonians who are based in the United States send money back home. So it's not just the services of being
Wow.
able to buy and sell stablecoins for local currency, but now the ability to send US dollars and to receive local currency as well. And
Wow.
so these four services create what we've been calling Sunshine Core, and it makes us the world's first remittance exchange. But you
Wow.
know, Tara, along the journey of this entire Sunshine journey, again, being able to have the space and the time to actually figure out what is my intuition telling me about this company? What is it? It's become so much more than a company now to me. It is truly a purpose for me. And I know that it's really about financial freedom for all. That is the
Yeah.
vision of our company. Financial freedom for all, a new world where our members have the power and guidance to discover and gain financial freedom. It's
Mm.
about financial freedom and access for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, first of
Mhm.
all, in terms of hard currency, but then also for the people of Trinidad and Tobago who send money back home, who pay exorbitant fees to do so,
Yes.
and it's very difficult. And eventually expanding beyond the people of Trinidad and Tobago to the people of the region and ultimately the people of the
Wonderful.
world. I got to realize, life works in such mysterious ways, but the sun, it shines everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what the sun is. Everyone has this relationship to the sun. It's this energy
Mm.
source. And money is very much the same way, it's this
Yeah.
energy source. And like we all have a relationship to money, but that relationship has been very obscured for say the last since up to now, basically.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is to shine a light on that and to really bring this idea of financial freedom to our customers, whom we call members. And the goal is really to help as many of our members as possible become financially free. And we have a metric for understanding what that financial freedom looks like.
Mhm.
It's lots of things. It's you must own assets, owning your own home,
Yeah.
being
Yep.
in good health. You can't be financially free and you're not in good physical, mental, and emotional health. You're
Nope.
not financially free yet.
Mm-mm.
So we have these metrics, and I know that the long-term goal of the company, the long-term vision, is to help as many people in this world become financially free. And we'll do that through a range of products, services, experiences, education. Sunshine is so much bigger than me, and it's really due to myself, my team, our members that it's shaping up this way.
Wow.
And the vision is so it's so huge, but I know that we get there in the end, and I know that it's not the only thing that I will be doing in this life as well. I know there's two more things to come of a significant scale, and I know I'm meant to help many entrepreneurs bring their own dreams and their visions to fruition as well, or along the way.
Mm. Jarryon, I'm getting a little teary because I know that this has been your heart for so long for your fellow Trinidadian. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Trinidadian? Trinidadian.
So you could say Trinidadian, or you can
Uh-huh.
say Tobagonian, or you can
Okay.
say Trinbagonian.
Trinbagodian. I love it.
Yeah,
Okay. Your
Trinbagonian.
fellow Trinbagodians. Because I was like, I feel like I'm leaving a whole part out there.
Yeah.
That has been in your heart. Like this has been
Yes.
honestly your North Star.
Hmm.
Your original thing where you were figured out like, hey, my intuition and so forth. You were there trying to help entrepreneurs
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
to be able to take money and make money because it was
Yep.
very difficult to have that happen. So this is genuinely like it's honestly I'm getting teary because it's I've seen you this has been your constant thing you have worked on for so long and it's finally really coming to fruition with multiple different things here, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, actually last night I was at an event here in New York, put on by a organization called the Caribbean Business Network,
Oh, it's
CBN.
awesome. Okay.
It was so cool to be in a room, and it was like an award ceremony. They have this thing called the Icon Awards, and it was just so cool to be in a room with Caribbean people from all the different Caribbean
Oh,
islands, Trinidad, Jamaica,
yeah.
Haiti, Guyana. There's just so many Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
And it's just a celebration of us, right? So
Oh,
it's us celebrating us. And it was so incredible because so many people came up and said, I won awards before X, Y, and Z, but it hits different when it's from your own people in a sense. And it's like, and I just kind of looked at that and I was like, that is so true. A lot of the time in the Caribbean, we don't, and this is probably true of people anywhere, but we don't necessarily celebrate who we are
yeah.
so often. And
Yeah.
so many times it's like the thing that's not us is the better thing. But someone was also bringing up this idea from someone who I have so much respect for. She's currently the Prime Minister of Barbados. Her name
Mm-hmm.
is Mia Mottley.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking on this idea of cultural confidence and
Mm.
this idea that sometimes we're the last people to be confident in who we are, when in reality we can and we do stand toe to toe with anyone, anywhere, doing anything,
Oh,
anytime.
yeah. Oh, that's
And it
beautiful.
is so
Mm.
true of
Mm.
Trinbagonians, of Caribbean people in particular. And we have to have that confidence in ourselves and our ability to really do world changing things, because we do and we can.
You do. Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, that's beautiful. As you know, my little baby girl is from St. Croix, so
Yes.
adopted.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, yes, yes.
so
Yes.
this speaks to my heart too, because we do a
Yeah.
lot to make sure she's still from her internal, standpoint is connected to that very much so, and how important
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah, yeah. St. Croix,
right?
St. Croix Tower is actually for one. I don't know, again, intuition. It's just one place that I so want to go to. For something is just telling me you need to go to St. Croix. I'm like, why? Like,
Good. Oh,
but I'm
good.
also
Well,
like, okay.
okay. Well, all right, we're gonna coordinate that because like, we're gonna take her one of the. Hopefully, we just don't go
Nice.
during hurricane season, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. That's
I mean, not
also a
that.
whole,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Um,
also a whole thing as well. What's
that
happening
is
in
a.
Jamaica and Haiti,
Oh
and
my God. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
know. Oh my God.
devastating. They were talking about it last night as well. So,
Oh
so
my
much is
God.
still needed. Yeah,
Yeah, and but to the good point. Okay, so this is something that's, and I want to make sure we talk about your catalyst session because
yeah,
somehow we're
yeah,
coming up on an hour. But
yeah,
but this is such a good point. When founders, I think very highly creative, very highly sensitive founders who really want to do better for humanity, sometimes we struggle with the financial piece. Like we can do all the good. Like I mean personally, I still have something inside me. I would love to give away everything I do. And I know it doesn't actually do any good for anybody if I do.
yeah.
But inside, they're still right. And I think for
So
you
true.
too, it's like if I can just
Yes,
help somebody, fine, whatever. I don't care. I just want to help somebody.
yes.
But here's a good point, right? We have things in this world that when the good people in the world with true love of humanity actually have the financial means to be able to
Yep.
do things, that moves the needle in a way. We can send money to Haiti. We can send money to Jamaica. We can do the stuff that really helps people because the money is going in the hands of people who are going to do good with it, right?
100%. 100%. This, I mean, you're preempting the end goal of sunshine, but I can't say much more than that. But but yeah, it is so true. I often think about the people who most of us look up to, well, like a lot of people look up to in terms
Yeah.
of the Elon Musks of the world and
Yeah.
so on. And I remember there was a point where I would have considered this person to be like a hero of mine,
Hmm.
only to eventually realize that, wait, these people aren't really doing anything yet compared to what is to actually to come. What is actually to come, I think, will
Yeah.
blow the minds of the entire world when we
I think
realize,
so.
oh, wait, we are actually part of an unlimited universe. We are actually connected to an unlimited source. We didn't have to actually do this whole scarcity, scare tactics,
Yeah. Give all our
money
power
power,
to somebody else. And
yeah, money, power, status, fame, and like I got
uh-huh.
$1 million, and I know I think and then I'm not happy, and I
Yeah.
realize that there needs to be this new kind of founder, this new kind
Yeah.
of bar that has to be set as to what is really greatness. Is it greatness
Yes.
to just be quite good at engineering or quite good at the financial side of things or
Yep.
structuring companies and so on, and to be able to play within this whole 3D realm of rules and so on? Or is there something greater still? And
Mm.
I know there is something greater still,
There
so
is. I agree.
yeah, I think
Mm.
this. I can't wait for the day where people start to realize that there was always so much more. There was so much more potential inside of you. There was so much more that you could have
Yeah.
actually brought to bear that maybe you just
Yeah.
didn't know that you could, or you didn't believe, or you didn't feel like you had the right environment or the right examples. But they are here
It's
and
there.
they are coming. We are coming.
Oh. Jarryon, I love it so much. I could talk to you for like 5 more hours, as you know. So,
Yeah.
so I'll just have you back. But so talk to me though about your
Sure.
catalyst session, because for me, I think that's
Yeah.
an amazing place for people to, founders, entrepreneurs, humanitarians who want to drop in and they're like, all right, I'm ready. I want to get moving. I want to have this change.
Yeah, so actually, Tara, I don't know if you know this, but the catalyst session is actually really based on the first session I had with you.
I didn't
Because
know
yeah, that's
that.
actually
Okay.
where it comes from. Because okay, I was in a bad way. Okay, I didn't know what was happening. I had these sort of persistent headaches that were just coming all the time. I was very debilitated, no energy during the day, this kind of stuff, and very depressed. And in one session, you were able to give me something that no one else was able to give me in terms
Mm,
of an answer, a direction, not just hope, but like something real and tangible that I was then able to start moving towards. And you removed
mm.
so much obscurity and so much doubt in one session. That's why I had the question at the end, how did she do that? Right? Like I couldn't, I was like, I've been talking to people for months, and like in one session, and I think a lot of the time people don't. I think a lot of people are in the same situation. I think a lot of people are walking around with this pain or these diseases or
Yeah.
this situation. I think they are trying, but for one reason or the other, they don't get that solution or that answer. And so
Mm,
that's really the whole point of the catalyst session. It's this one session that you will do that will reveal what's going on behind the surface, beneath the surface, and it will be sort of like a catalyst to actually move you from where you are and show you, even if just for a moment, who you are and where you actually can go. And
yeah.
then there comes the journey of actually going there. And there's other programs, other sessions that actually do that. And the catalyst session is sort of designed to give you that high impact first instance of, no, this is who I am and this is where I'm going, with some guidance and some support after the fact. But that's what the catalyst session is about. It's like a wake up call session. You found where you are supposed to be kind of session, and there is support. It's not actually all storm clouds. Like there is actually a way forward. There
There's
is a
answers.
light. There
Mm,
are answers. There are real answers. There are people in this world, myself being one of them, yourself being one of them, who have this skill and this ability to see these patterns and who have worked with other people in similar situations
yeah, that
who
too.
and who are passionate about it as well.
Yeah.
It's not just, it's like, I actually want to help you, like, a lot.
Like Jerry, oh my God, that actually, I did not know that that was what it was from. I will
Yeah,
say, um, you know, just honestly, and I'm gonna get teary, but honestly, knowing that I've been able to help someone as spectacularly wonderful as you to get beyond that place that I know you were at back there, and then to see you now is like it's one of those like sometimes we have moments where you're like, you know what? If that's what I did in my life, like that's awesome. So I'm gonna get teary, but genuinely, like to see you out there shining your light. Speaking of sunshine, shining your light, being who you are, and being such a beacon for good in this world. Because I believe like anybody who comes into your circle, into your world, into your sphere, is gonna be better for it. And if somebody comes in and does that catalyst session, they are gonna be in your space in a way that is going to be transformative that they can't even imagine it yet. Like I think that's the important thing. They can't you can't quite understand the relief of having the answer and moving forward that quick, right?
yeah, it's indescribable. I mean, it's so hard to even put a value on like
I know.
what that really is for a person who is seeking, a person who's genuine.
Yep.
And I mean, just today, the person I was talking about was someone who did the catalyst session, and it's so often that he reminds me of how much that session actually was beneficial to him, and
Oh,
it's the best feeling. It's the best
it's the
feeling to see someone who is just
yep,
doing the work and you're seeing them moving through the blocks and so on. And to know that I was that person as well. And I am continuing to do that at different levels still. And to be around people who want that and who go for that and do that and see the value in that and then see the rewards of that. It's just, I don't know.
right?
I don't know. Like,
There's no better work,
yeah,
in my opinion, there's no better work in the world than to know that you've helped somebody profoundly help someone who is supposed to be out there. So
yeah,
I
agree.
cannot recommend, like, seriously, anybody who's listening to this, check out Jarryon. You can see in the notes in the caption, go check out his catalyst session. Do that immediately. Get into his sphere. Check out Sunshine. Like, get into this. I promise you, your life will be better for it, 100%. I cannot believe we are actually at an hour. As I said, I could talk to you for so much longer.
Yeah,
I
time
will
always
have you
goes
come
forward.
back because I think there's a whole bunch more stuff that we still could talk about that would be so
Yeah,
beneficial. And maybe we even do like just an entrepreneur roundtable where we bring a lot of people in and they can kind of just get a
yeah,
sense, and see and hear all you have so much. The thing about you, Jerry, and that's amazing is it's not just it's lived wisdom, it's earned wisdom, it's sought wisdom that you have, and it's internal wisdom you have. And that's a very rare thing with a genuinely full heart that just wants to help humanity. And so, like, if people are lucky enough to work with you, they are truly gifted and lucky. So to everybody who's been watching and listening, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share the wonderful person that Jarryon is with all of you. If you're listening to this and you think, hey, maybe I'd like to do this work, maybe I'm right for this work, you can check out a little bit more about the body decode and flow method certifications by clicking the link in the caption. If you want to, certainly feel free to send me a DM or an email. We can check it out. As Jarryon knows, I'm very careful about who I sort of bring in because you
yeah,
gotta you gotta be somebody like this. It's really important when we're working with people's health and well-being that we have the right people.
yeah.
Jarryon, you are a true gift to the world. I'm so grateful that you are in my world, and I'm gonna get teary again. As you know, I adore you. So, um, anyways, thank you for being here. And thank you to everybody here for listening and watching. And I'll see you next Friday for another gifted.